This video discusses the next step of building the bitstream to program the FPGA board, and that is implementation. Implementation is the process of taking the circuit netlist that was generated by the synthesis step and mapping it to the physical resources that are available on the FPGA part that we selected in our project. We can run implementation only once synthesis is complete, and we run it by going over to the Flow Navigator and hitting Run Implementation. Once we start that, we will see that implementation is running by looking in the project summary, the top right, or again down in the design runs. Like synthesis, implementation is going to take a couple minutes to complete and even longer as your designs get larger. And so we're just going to wait for this to finish. Once the implementation step completes, this window will pop up, giving us a few options, and we're going to close it for now. We can now go over to look at the project summary here and look at our implementation, and here we have quite a few warnings, and whenever we see warnings or errors here, we want to stop and look at them. And so again, we can click the link here to be taken down to the messages pane that I'm going to make a bit larger. We're going to collapse the old warnings that we had and just look at the ones that are part of implementation. So what we see here is a few things. So one, we see that says that there's no user-defined clocks were found in the design. And in the first few labs, we are only doing combinational logic, and there are no clocks in the design. And because of that, there's no timing yet in the design, and so we can ignore these messages about the design not having timing. And so we can see that here, including this warning here that it's not in timing mode, and this warning down here, there's no user-specified timing constraints, and finally that the report timing summary also failed because we don't have timing constraints. The only other warning that we see here is that about this another timing message, and again this just relates to the fact that we don't have timing constraints in this lab. The next thing we can do is we could actually open up the implementation and look at it. So we can go to the hit Open Implemented Design. This will take a second to open, but this will actually show us the physical layout of our FPGA and where the different parts of our design are mapped to. And so you can see this is actually a large chip, and this small region in pink is, if we zoom in here, there's one part, these are input pads where signals are coming into our design, and if we zoom out, we can actually see a couple places here where there's actually the LUTs of our design being implemented on the FPGA. And finally, over here, there's some more input and output pads used to get signals in and out of our design. We can go and close the implemented design here in the top right. And the other thing we could do is we could look at the reports, and we could go to implementation reports. For example, we might want to look at the utilization. We can double click to run that and scroll through, and there's some interesting information here. For example, we're using 2 slice LUTs in the design out of 63,000 available on this part. And we can go down further, we'll see the IOs, that we're using 7 IOs out of a total of 210 available. And this is available in the full report, but also in our project summary. If I make this a bit smaller, you'll see utilization down here, both as a graph or as a table. We can see highlights of the same information. And that's it for the implementation step.